Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I'm just going to give it a few minutes for people to join. We'll start about 1 minute past. It's filling up, Kevin. It's filling up.
Excellent. I just had a screaming cat walk past, so do forgive me, everybody. It's always this part, isn't it, with when everybody's sat kind of going, we'll say something, and you kind of go, well.
Please say hi in the chat so we know that you're there.
At least it's not absolutely chucking down today, hey?
No, they did say apparently yesterday it was a month's worth of rain in one day.
Awful.
Quite sad, isn't it? Right, I'm going to get started. So hello, everybody on the call. Thank you so much for joining us. This is actually our 5th webinar in our QR Codes Powered by GS1 series. For those of you that have watched all 5, congratulations. Thank you for sticking with us. Today's an interesting one. So today we're going to be diving into why staying ahead of regulation is going to be really important in the next few years. And before we kind of really get into the detail, I just wanted to highlight one thing. QR codes powered by GS1 aren't the complete fix, right? We all know that regulation is very, very complex. But what QR codes powered by GS1 can be is a great tool. So I want you to really think of them as a gateway to access that additional information, more detailed information that you're going to have to provide for your products going forward. So my name is Roshni. I'm an engagement manager at GS1, and my role is focusing on the adoption of QR codes in the retail sector. And today I'm joined by Kevin from Buyerdock. Give us the wave, Kevin.
Good morning, everybody.
So Kevin is joining us today because he's going to share some great insights on upcoming regulation and also share with you some real life examples of how QR codes can support regulations in the future. So I'm just going to touch on who GS1 are because there might be a couple of you on the call that are not quite aware of what we do. So GS1 are a neutral not-for-profit membership organisation, and we create standards on how we identify, capture and share information. And what we mean by standards is having that common language that enables information to be easily shared across different systems and platforms and also up and down the supply chain. We're most commonly known for the barcode. And our goal is to really bring our members together to solve those industry problems that they can't solve alone. So what do we mean by QR codes powered by GS1? I'm not going to go into the detail of exactly how they work. If you want to know more about that, you can head to our website, or our latest webinar that we did a couple of weeks ago was all about how to get started with QR codes, and that's uploaded to our Knowledge Hub, so you can access that there. But what I did want to share is why we're focusing on the transition. So the barcode that you can see on screen there, we know it, we love it. It's been around for 50 years, but in those 50 years, it hasn't really changed. And it actually only holds one bit of information, so it's not data rich at all. And we know that in this kind of digital environment, data needs are changing and we need more and more information about our products. So that's exactly what the QR code powered by GS1 does. So unlike a traditional QR code that you see on pack now that usually links to one piece of information, what a QR code powered by GS1 does, it can link to multiple pieces of information offline, so expiry dates, batch numbers, serial numbers, and then also link the consumer to multiple pieces of online information. And alongside all of that, it will also go beep at the till in the future. You may have heard of the date 2027 being mentioned, and I just want to kind of reiterate what we mean by that date, because I think there's a bit of confusion sometimes. So we're not saying that the barcode is going to vanish by that date, but what we do believe is there's going to be a bit of a phase transition from the barcode to the QR code. And by that date, there's going to be a critical mass of retailers being able to scan these codes at point of sale. And as you can imagine, with all that additional data, there's a whole host of different use cases that those QR codes can unlock. And we believe alongside kind of that retailer transition, things like regulatory requirements are really going to be a significant driver to drive that transition. So regulation can be a bit of a minefield. And I know we have lots of conversations with members on a daily basis. And if you ask the brand owner what keeps them awake at night, they probably go regulation. You can see on the screen here some of the concerns that are top of mind, like what is the requirement? How do I stay ahead? What does it mean? What information do I need? Is there anything new that I should be aware of? And of course, there's going to be nuances between sectors and categories. But what QR codes powered by GS1 could be is a way to ensure not only are you meeting those regulations with the right information, but you're also staying compliant really efficiently by holding everything in that one code. And not only do you have to think about UK regulation, we're in a global trading environment here. You also need to look into the EU and beyond. So here's just a snapshot of what's coming up in the next couple of years. So in the UK alone, you've got things like EPR, food labelling, transparency reforms, along with the circular economy roadmap. And then on the EU side, which is really moving at pace at the moment, there's significant focus on things like digital product passport. You've got the deforestation regulation. There's a whole host of new rules around sustainability, packaging waste, eco-design. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say that QR code powered by GS1 is the solution to all of these, but what it can be is a gateway to provide all of that additional information that you need to access for that product moving forward. So I'm now going to hand over to Kevin, who's going to focus on two key regulations. So the first one being recycling labels and the second one being DPP. And he is also going to show you some really exciting use cases that they've been working on to really bring this alive and how it could work in the future.
Perfect. So this is the slide. This is where we transition very gently into me controlling. So you have to be bear with us for a second.
We did it.
Hey. So good morning, everyone. Thanks, Roshni, for that. So my name's Kevin. I'm one of the founders of Buyerdock. Today's not going to be a deep dive into regulation. Okay, so it's going to be fairly light touch, but we're just going to kind of give you a heads up as to what's coming, what you should be doing now, what you could be doing now, and kind of what you need to start doing. Long and short, it's not super complicated. It's just a process. And in our mind, the sooner you start, the better shape you'll be in. So when we founded Buyerdock back in 2019, which feels like a long time ago now, the digital product passport and the recycling regulations were kind of a distant thought. And when we started building the QR code powered by GS1, 2027 for many brands was a long way away. But now it's not. It's now really not that far away. So currently we've got there's 50 million products using our iQR code, and they're being scanned in 105 countries currently. So there's a few brands there that kind of use Buyerdock at the moment, and everything on the Buyerdock platform complies with GS1 web vocabulary and standards. So we talk about digital, and there's a whole bunch, as Roshni was saying, there's a whole bunch of regulation coming down the line. We believe, as in Buyerdock believe, we truly believe, so we can say this, but we truly believe that the QR code will be front and center of pretty much all regulation. The reason we think that is because it can be scanned at point of sale. It can also be scanned by consumers, and eventually can be scanned by customs, excise, etc., etc. There are other ways, such as data matrices and RFIDs, etc. But us, the consumer, can't really scan that. So long and short, the regulators demand more, and they're going to demand more and more and more. but the consumers are going to expect more. They already do, just by looking at the analytics of our IQR codes. One of the most clicked tiles globally at the moment is a sustainability story from the brands. So people do care today, although our QR codes are kind of look like a normal QR code. Those have got call to actions around them are seeing that engagement. By the way, if you have your phone with you, these QR codes should also scan depending on how clear your screen is. So today there are 3 business challenges: one today, one tomorrow, and then the third one. So I'll talk about the recycling logos and the compliance required in France and Italy today and what's coming down the line. I mean, the fines are huge, as you can see on here, right? So if you're not compliant today, they're huge. I'll go into more detail in a moment. And then you've got the digital product passport. I'll explain what we know, what we think is going to happen and how we can deliver that, or how it can be delivered. With the first categories being fashion, textiles, and shoes. So if you're in the fashion, textiles, and shoes world, this is going to be really, really crucial for you today. And finally, the barcode transition to QR codes. Again, when we say transition, it's a long process. 2027 is just a date, but they're all coming together at the same time. So make sure you're ready. So firstly, there's something in France called in Europe called the European Green Deal. Now, this is basically saying that every consumer needs to know where the packaging goes into what bin of all consumer packaging. Now, as you can imagine, you might have a box with a bottle in it and a lid on it. Each of those elements needs to be accounted for in French, showing what bin it goes into, or in Italian, showing what bin it goes into, because everyone's got different bins and every country's logos are completely different. These are super complex, the more complex your packaging is. So, I mean, the ultimate aim is for the EU or for all products to have like more recyclable packaging. I think it's 2030 where the EU wants to see all packaging fully recyclable. But this is a requirement today. So France became a requirement in 2022, and they went against the EU law. The EU law says it should be digital because there's not a lot of space on pack to show all those logos, right? If there's 24 countries coming together, that's a lot of logos to put on one package. But France said, print it on pack. So as it stands today, you have to print the French Tri-Man logo on pack. If the product's small enough, it can go digitally. And in Italy, if they followed the law and it can go digital. The Buyerdock have a patented tool that can deliver all of these just by asking questions about your product packaging. So no matter how complex it is, we've got products on the platform with, I think the biggest is 9 different elements of packaging. We can deliver those logos instantly for you. But the final part here is the rest of Europe, Australia, America, UK, they're all coming in the next year or 2. So our platform will automatically update to incorporate those. But if you don't have the French and Italian logos today, you've got to make that your first action plan for this afternoon. Okay, the next part obviously is a digital product passport. So we're here to talk about digital product passports and DPPs, and everyone's talking about DPPs right now. So the fact is they're coming, and they will contain a ton of information. It's going to be about the traceability, the repairability, the recyclability, the refurbishability, if that's even a word. It can all be delivered using the digital link. So as Roshni was talking about earlier, the QR codes can also do things like returns, product recalls, expiry dates. All of that can form part of the DPP. So crucially, I guess the most important thing to tell everyone today is that although it became law in July, the final detail hasn't yet been released. There's going to be 3 stages. So light, let's call it, medium, let's call it, deep, I don't know. 3 stages, 2027, 2030, 2033. So the important thing to remember, knowing it needs to be digital, knowing it needs to be on pack or product in time for 2027. Get started now. Just use the QR code as a marketing tool because everything can be updated dynamically. The most important thing is we all remember the GDPR days. Everyone panics at the last minute. Start the process now and actually start thinking about marketing and using the QR code, because when a retailer turns around and says it needs to be able to scan at the till and it needs to have a DPP, that's all going to come so quickly. So the key elements, all of those elements there. We don't, as I say, we don't know yet. Things like carbon footprints are going to be a part of this, but we need to get a standard on that. So the next steps we think for the DPP, certainly if you're in the fashion, textiles or footwear world, is start talking to providers now. You know, there's many people out there claiming to do DPPs. We are the only ones that can deliver those recycle logos because we have the patent. But start talking to providers. Start looking at who's going to manage the process, because the retailers we're talking to at the moment and the brands, they're struggling to work out who this sits with. Is it compliance? Is it regulation? Is it warehousing? So start working out who's going to manage the project. And I guess thirdly here, the rest of this can kind of is quite obvious, but thirdly is, where is your data now and how accessible is it to whoever's going to be running the project? Most of the experience we've got at the moment is the data can be in 2, 3, 4 places. The DPP today could be just all the information you've got on your website regarding the product. So we believe the British Footwear Association, who we work with, in UK FT, we all believe it's going to be around a unique identifier, which is the barcode number or the GTIN. And then you'll be in good shape if you organize that, get your QR codes on products and start labeling, start getting everything ready, because knowing that in 2026, you've got time then to update data. Data should be easily updatable at any point. So I'm going to now just run through a few case studies because I'm aware of the time. I'm aware there's going to be loads of questions, or hopefully loads of questions. So this is a company called American International Industries. So these guys are the largest privately owned beauty company in the States. They came to us before we'd built a tool to deliver regulations. They came to us and said, oh, we need a French logo to sell in France. All of our retailers are saying we can no longer sell there. Now, look, because the size of this packaging complies with digital, the image on the left, they just overstickered a QR code on the corner of the box, which made them compliant in France and in Italy. Now, as they move through the packaging process, the QR code now sits in the product. Since they've been using the QR code, they've managed to open 5 new retail chains in Italy. You know, this is being scanned in 105 countries. You'll see it in Superdrug and in Tesco, Sainsbury's, and everywhere. Boots, this product. But the most important thing here, I think, is the clutter. So you can see the image, the image on the right. There's far less clutter suddenly. Now, the reason being is they were trying to explain in multiple languages how to actually use the eyelash glue, but the QR code does that. They've got a YouTube video behind it, and that QR code, most click tile is how to, which is very interesting. It just goes to show they did the right thing. A next example here is Edinburgh Gym. We've probably all heard of this brand. They sell in duty-free shops around the EU, etc. And they first came to us just for the recycling logo. So you see their call to action on their QR code was recycling, scan this for recycling. They did that to become compliant as quick as they could. However, now their marketing team are starting to add more and more information and starting to add more information and starting to build a story into their QR code. So you can see that the process doesn't have to happen all at once. This is a really interesting example. So Esker Shoes are a small footwear company, and the owner said to me, oh, I need to sell I sell in multiple retail chains, UK and Europe. We need to be compliant to the DPP. So he built a tool within his back-end system, which is a PIM, to automatically create the QR code using our more info domain name, followed by the barcode or the GTIN number. So he's generating the QR codes without actually adding any data to Buyerdock. So so on demand, effectively, he managed to create 3,500 digital product passports because we've got all the information that the UKFT have told us is required for a DPP, but we can't clarify that, already on Buyerdock. So his products have all of the information and he's ready. And as and when new lines come down, they just comply automatically. So that's just, I guess what I'm saying here is it doesn't have to be super complex. Just make your system work. Most people create their own barcodes, right? Automatically. So it's the same thing with the QR. So Loke Shoemakers, obviously a very heritage brand, don't use QR codes really, but they're very carbon neutral. They're very They repair shoes. If you're wearing Lokes and they wear out, you can actually repair your shoes from and send them back. So these guys kind of comply to most of the stuff required for the digital product passport, but had no way of saying it. So working with us, they're going to have the QR code on the front of the box, and now they're starting the process. So you imagine the light stage probably just on packaging QR code, but don't take my word for it. Probably just on packaging. And the second stage, 2030, we believe that's where it's going to be required on product. So they're already looking at where to put the QR code. It might be on the back of where you've got, I don't know, Chelsea boot, and you pull the label at the back. Roshni, don't help me if you can remember the name of that, but that's what you. So they're looking at putting the QR code on the back there, maybe printing on shoe. So these guys are working on it now because it's a long process, right? That took 7 people to work to get agreements. So your marketing guys, compliance guys, warehouse guys, etc., etc. It's a big commitment. And finally, we work with Buyerways, who are probably one of the UK's leading printers of like care labels, hang tags, etc. So with them, we're currently in deep discussion with 13 high street retail fashion chains. Everybody has the same problem. The data's everywhere, but because Buyerways print their care labels, we can actually get the QR code onto the care label at the point of production, so just in time, within seconds. This means that the data the brands are giving Buyerways is enough for us to take after the QR code's printed and start building the digital product passports automatically for them. So using bits of AI and cool stuff like that. It means the retailers and the fashion chains, etc., brands working with Buyerways can actually get something like 60% of their QR code populated automatically without touching it. And that's the seamless kind of nature this needs to be really efficient, we believe. So I won't bore you anymore. I'll just give you a few action points now to take away today. So firstly, as I said before, it's absolutely crucial if you sell in France or Italy that you have recycle logos on product today. If you don't have them, like, come and see us, talk to Roshni, email me. You've got a QR code, you can visit Buyerdock. Please make sure you're compliant. It's the most important thing. And then secondly, start that process of digital product passport, where to find the data, who's going to manage it, start talking to providers. We're more than happy to run through proper demos with you if you're looking to see that. And then thirdly, if you came to this presentation today to find out things like you're a responsible person, how to do plastic tax, how to register for VAT in each country you sell in, how to do tax and how to do carbon footprints, etc., let us know, let Roshni know on email, and we'll introduce you to the guys that do the bit beyond us. So we do the bit digital, on pack, compliance and paying taxes, etc. That's done by one of our partners who we're more than happy to introduce you to. And I guess finally, if you have your phone, scan the QR code on the right. That just shows you what Wrigley's did with Juicy Fruit, and actually it's quite interesting because they changed the colours of the app, etc., to make it all branded. And that's all for me. I hope that wasn't too boring.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kevin. I think it's really great to see those real life examples. And if I took one thing away, it's just try it on a SKU, right? Map it out on a SKU. We know it's coming, so you don't want to be scrambling around to like adhere to the regulation at the last minute. So if you can start early, that's kind of like the key to unlocking it in the future. So let's go to the chat and see if there are any questions. Just gonna go over here.
Yeah, Mike has asked the question that we get asked probably 20 times a day.
Yeah.
Did you want to read the question, Roshni? Sorry, I'll steal your
Mike's
thunder.
asked the question. I've heard that France initially wanted info on label. Have they now accepted the electronic passport as directed by EU?
Well, this is a great one, Mike. So when France launched their regulations, let's call it their law, it became a problem for the EU because it created a friction on the border, which is obviously against EU law, having this Tri-Man logo printed directly on pack. So at the moment, as it stands, France are being taken to, I guess, court by the European Commission. So that was March 23. The EU law changed after that to be more specific on where these logos need to go. So the new countries coming down the line shouldn't require it printed on pack. But as it stands today, depending on the size of the product, it needs to be printed on pack. But if you have questions on that, our tool, we've got a demo on our website on the homepage somewhere. But if you look at the tool, it will tell you, in fact, our tool in the back end tells you the size of the product. You need to measure the size of the product. If it's, I don't know if you can see me on the screen, but if it's that size, you can do it digitally. If it's that size, you need to print on pack, basically. So what you look at Lavazza, for example, on the screen, already printed on pack. And this isn't like a new regulation. This has been going for a long time now. This is like 3 years down the road. Does that help? Have I explained that? I don't know if I have.
No, that helped me. That helped me. Thank you. Any more questions in the chat? Kevin, I've got a question. So
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier that in terms of information that consumers are looking for, sustainability is one of them. Is there any other things, any other tiles that you see consumers really clicking on to get more information about products?
Do you know what? It's really interesting because it depends on, so we actually track clicks. So another part of EU law to deliver these recycle logos, which I believe will be the same for DPP, is you're not allowed to know the customer when they're scanning it. Okay, so when someone scans one of our QR codes, we work out what their IP is, so where they are. So we deliver the language automatically wherever they scan it in the world. Then we forget them. They forget their IP address. Okay, it's some cool thing. Don't ask me. But basically, so we can track in languages. So in France and Italy, the most clicked tiles generally are the recycle tiles, which is interesting because they're geared up for it, I suppose. But sustainability is always a big one. How to tends to be quite a well-clicked tile. Sustainability is actually the sustainability story more so. On food products, so our platform covers all product types. So on food products, it's generally allergens and ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly enough, on clothing, it's not. No one really clicks materials at this moment. I don't know why that is, but yeah. A lot of the time, it's just like contact us when you've got all those kind of tiles, but really, they're the main ones.
Amazing, thank you. Yeah, I suppose with apparel that will come eventually as people get more conscious about where their products are coming from, what composition they are, things like that moving forward. There's another question in the chat from Estelle. For healthcare products, are you in discussions with the UK EU authorities on getting QR codes approved on pack? Currently not. Also, would we need the technology to be consistent and agreed? Kevin, if you can't take it, I can take it.
You can take that. I mean, Jonathan, who's my co-founder, who's here somewhere, he's in discussion, but yeah, you can take it. I'm not.
Yeah. So from a GS1 perspective, right now, we're not looking to transition into QR codes powered by GS1 for regulated healthcare products. So at the moment, you'll all probably know that they're using the data matrix. And what they're working on is a specific app that consumers would be able to use to access information about that product, which will mean, as you said, Estelle, there needs to be a consistent and agreed way of kind of sharing that information. So that's something that, yeah, GS1 are working with UK and EU on to make sure that we've got that consistent aligned approach, specifically on regulated healthcare. Hopefully that helped. And then we've got another question from Carl. Is the QR code unique per item or batch?
At the moment, the word unique has been taken by most, in fact, by all the trade associations as meaning unique as in barcode. So at size, color, whatever, barcode level, right?
Yeah.
But it may be per batch. You might want to use batch. I mean, our tool, and in fact, the GS1, the QR codes powered by GS1 does enable batch numbers to be delivered. So it can be by batch. The only thing I would say is super unique, so unique per individual product, so per garment. So like these jeans are blue, size large, these jeans are blue, size large, a different unique number for those. The biggest problem with that is getting a printer to do that uniquely for each and every single product. That's one easier, I guess, thing. But where I showed the example of Lokes and the woven label earlier, you cannot do unique with woven. They come in lines of 6, so you're gonna have to really. There's so much churn and wastage if you do that. it just wouldn't be compliant really with the law, which is to reduce rubbish.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it depends what level you need to go down to. And I think I was speaking to Byways the other day, and like batch level, because it's done in big batches, it could be done at high speed, but do you really need that level of detail, or can you link to that level of detail through the QR code and onto another platform area, website, etc.?
Yeah. Yeah, it's all achievable. Sorry, I was just going to say, Carl, everything's achievable. It's really down to whether the regulations demand it, which I don't think they will initially. They may do eventually. Like I think eventually right down to actually be able to scan it and see who's worn it previously, like, then sell it on Vinted and stuff. So, but initially, I don't see that personally.
Yeah. And then we have one more question. Are we expecting any changes in current UK EU food labelling regulation to allow keeping mandatory information like ingredients, allergens, nutritional values behind a QR code?
Long answer or short answer. At the moment, everything that needs printing on pack for regulation purposes is going to stay there. The reason being is the pushback from the governments at the moment are that not everyone's got a smartphone. I completely get that. But then you've got people now talking about RFID to be scanned by us, because there's a new iPhone can do that. But actually, not everyone's going to have RFIDs for a long, long time. So the short answer is no, but I think the long answer is yes. And there may be elements that drop off, but I think things like ingredients, allergen, nutrition, they're going to stay forever, and there'll probably be more, which is why, I mean, if anyone's been to France recently, you buy a packet of crisps, there's a whole load of, where we've got the traffic light system, they've got one, and they're looking at doing one for carbon footprint. Their packs are going to be just so full of detail, you're going to go, what? So it's, I think, yeah. Hopefully is the answer.
Interesting, because like I was on a call last week with Westminster on food labelling, and yeah, right now it will have to be printed on pack because of that reason. That everyone can scan, people still need to read the information. But if we start to think 4, 5, 6 years out, as people start to adopt QR more and know what to use it for, there could be more of a push to include some of that non-mandatory information and the nice to stuff in the QR.
And as Jonathan just put in the comments, so Jonathan is my co-founder, but we are running a big project with on the EU food labelling with Essex University, and that's due to start next year. And we are looking for anyone that is in the food industry. Please email Roshni and put us in touch, because it's a study we're doing. But these things always lead to more interesting information. I think Signal has got a hand up in the air. Signal Rosenfield.
Oh, I don't know if you can. I
can allow you to talk.
Yeah, I think you have to type it.
So Signal, if you could type your question, or if you want to talk, we can let you talk.
Can we let them talk?
Yeah.
How?
Okay. Hi, Signal. You can talk now. If you unmute you unmute.
It's a news.
Yeah.
No, this is working. It has to be a meeting.
No, I don't think.
No.
I don't think it'll give them access to their microphone.
Okay.
But yeah, if you want to email any of your questions over, we can always get back to you that way as well. Great. So I think
Any more questions?
We're at time. No more questions.
Perfect.
So thank you everyone for joining us. You will receive a recording of the webinar. It'll be in your inbox by the end of today, I think. And then yes, if you do have any questions, or you want us to point you in the right direction of regarding other regulations, you can just email this mailbox qr@gs1uk.org, and then we'll get back to you and point you in the right direction. Do we share the slides as well as we do share the slides, so you'll get them on email as well. Perfect. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for your time.